We are in 9 countries, 6 countries in West Africa and 3 outside of West Africa, including Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Djibouti. Transactions have started flowing through the infrastructure. They are still a bit, the volumes are not as high as we expect them to be, but it's gratifying to see that month on month we see growth in those transactions. The impact of PAPSS is gradually beginning to trickle down, but then to make sure that our growth is able to happen at a faster rate. That's why we, working with our governing council and all of our governance organs, we've come up with a commercial bank model which will allow us to expand quicker. So instead of waiting exclusively until we have all the central banks connected, we actually would work with the large group banks who will immediately open up their affiliates across the continent for PAPSS.
There is a push by some African nations to shift away from using the US dollar for intracontinental trade. How will PAPSS help in this regard?
First of all, we've removed that whole sourcing for dollars and so on from economic actors, okay? So they just need to be able to do their trade, in their local currencies. Now we've connected the central banks of each country as settlement agents on our network. So when they do trade, then ultimately between the central banks we are able to settle on a multilateral net basis. What that means is that if today you are doing maybe X amount of money in one direction and you are doing Y amount of transaction in the opposite direction, only the net position is what changes hands between the countries. And that makes a significant difference because suddenly the amount of money that they will require to settle those transactions is significantly lowered. They are now looking at maybe 20 to 30% of the liquidity that they would have needed, okay? Now, again, that hunger for things like dollars will begin to reduce because economic actors are not looking for dollars. What they are looking to do is to do transactions in their local currency. When you look at these things, supply and demand, and you begin to see how just that change will actually begin to strengthen those domestic currencies against the international currencies. And that's what we're trying to do.
In the long run, how will PAPSS boost trade and investments on the continent?
With PAPSS and our collaboration with the stock exchanges, we're going to now start enabling investors in one country invest in the stock exchanges of other countries. So just by doing that, you see that capital is able to flow more freely across our borders to go into different, in the same way, okay? If you do a survey of people who produce or who buy or export in our countries, you find that it is easier for them today to pay a counterparty in Europe or in the US than it is to pay the person that is living just next door. Those are the changes that we would like to bring about. And once we do that, it will enable our economies to take off as a rocket.